How can you make a Copilot agent without building a Copilot agent? What if you could just describe the agent of your dreams and bang, it comes to life on its own, running on the Copilot infrastructure in Microsoft 365? Well, you can. And they're called declarative agents. And in this video, we'll show you how. Hi, I'm Bob German, Cloud Developer Advocate for Microsoft. Let me also introduce my colleague, Rabia Williams, who will jump right in with a demonstration.
Thank you, Bob. Next, we're going to show you a Geo-locator game. It's a declarative agent powered by Copilot, and with a bunch of instruction, it becomes this agent that plays a game with you. So it'll give you a bunch of clues, and then you have to guess the name of the city. It's perfect for people who love travel, places, geography, etc. So it'll also keep a score. So the more clues you use, the more points you lose. So let's see a demo. All right, so here we are. I'm in Microsoft 365 Copilot, and I'm gonna go ahead and open up the Geo-locator game. So here we are at the Geo-locator game. It's got all these conversation starters. I'm gonna go ahead and click on this one. You can see that by clicking on the conversation starter, it puts the prompt into the chat area, but it doesn't send it right away, which is great. It'll wait for you to hit send when you're ready. So I'm just gonna go ahead and do that. All right, so now the agent is coming up with the first clue. Okay, the city is located on the continent of Europe and is known for its temperate maritime climate. I think that's London. London. It's not London. Okay. The next clue is the city is famous for its iconic landmark, Eiffel Tower. Okay, I know this one for sure now. Paris. That's right. So I have guessed the city in 2 clues. So that means I earn 8 points. It's supposed to be 10 points, but I lost a couple of points because I didn't guess it the first time. So yeah, this is the Geo-locator game. So how many lines of code do you think it took to develop this game? You know, it has cultural references, geography, knowledge, instruction on how to respond to user, cheer their user, etc., right? So it must be pretty complicated, do you think? Well, it's not that complicated. So I've opened up our Geo-locator game and its app package in VS Code. So if you expand this, you can see here the declarative agent.json file. Much of the stuff in here is natural language. So if you know how to edit a JSON file, you're good to go. You'll see the schema, version, name, description, instructions, which basically points to an instruction.txt file. So you can go ahead and put as much natural language instructions as you want. And then you have conversation starters that you can put as well. So let's have a quick look at the instructions. It's basically the directive or the behavior of the agent being defined by you. So how do you develop one of these from scratch? Bob is going to take you through the steps.
Thanks, Rabia, and it's probably no surprise to many of our viewers that I'm going to use Teams Toolkit. Teams Toolkit is a free add-in for Visual Studio Code, and what I'm going to do is create a new application. For project type, I'm going to choose Copilot Agent. And then what I want is a declarative agent, and I want one without a plugin. I could have an API plugin, but let's keep it simple at first, and I'm going to go and make a location for my project, and let's call the application test agent. And so that opens a new instance of Visual Studio Code, so I'll just enlarge that a little bit. And take a look inside the app package folder. I'm going to open a file called manifest.json, which is the main file in any Microsoft 365 application package. And I'm going to scroll past all these features that we're not using, and you'll see down at the bottom is Copilot extensions. And inside of there is declarative copilots. Now that's the old name for these things, so we don't yet have the new schema. We'll post the new schema in the show notes when we get it. But in any case, this is what connects to the declarative agent JSON file. And as you can see, this is about as simple as it gets. It doesn't even have the conversation starters, but it has a basic name and description and the schema information. And the instructions are in a second file. This is a really cool new Teams Toolkit feature that you can reference your own files from inside of any of the package files using this syntax. So I'll open up the instruction file and notice that it says to be polite and to mention Teams Toolkit. And I'm going to add my own instruction that if anyone mentions camping, the agent should suggest they go check out Copilot Developer Camp. Rabia will have more to say about that later. So now I'll head back to Teams Toolkit. And in this case, I can't hit the regular debug button because there's no code to debug. Instead, I just want to provision the project. So click the provision button, and Teams Toolkit will zip up all the files inside the app package folder and upload the resulting app package into Microsoft 365. Teams Toolkit will open Microsoft 365 Copilot. And what we want to do is open the right flyout so we can see the list of Copilot agents. I can see our test agent is on the list. If I click on the test agent, I can see the conversation starters and basic branding, and I can start chatting with the declarative agent. What you're seeing is called the immersive experience for working with an agent. In the future, it will also be possible to have an in-context experience where you mention the agent from other conversations. That's not working at the time of this recording, however, so we're just showing the immersive experience. Now, I think I better ask about camping. And indeed, it comes back as instructed with a recommendation for Copilot Developer Camp. There's a lot more that's possible when you add capabilities and actions to your declarative agent. Here's the declarative agent JSON for a more advanced example, which is an agent for a consulting company called Trey Research. Notice that it has access to the company's legal documents through the OneDrive and SharePoint capability. This will keep the agent focused on this one SharePoint library, so it won't pick up the wrong documents from somewhere else. In addition, it includes actions, which are API calls. But that's a subject for our next video. Meanwhile, these capabilities are pretty important. Rabia, would you explain more?
You can add a bunch of capabilities to a declarative agent. You can add graph connector knowledge, OneDrive and SharePoint knowledge, and web content using Bing. Now let's find out how to add these capabilities into the Geo-locator game that we saw earlier. Open up the declarative agent manifest file, and you can see here I've already pre-filled in the capabilities. We've got a graph connector called famous cities. I'd imagine this is a connector that have all the information of some cities and their clues, etc., coming from an external data source. Then we have the OneDrive and SharePoint. I'm pointing to a SharePoint site which have some travel diaries, mystery clues, etc. To feed into the agent. And also web search to bring in web content.
Declarative agents are a good choice when you want to take advantage of the AI inside of Microsoft 365 Copilot instead of providing your own. They're easy to write. As Rabia showed, they're just JSON and natural language. And yet you can develop them with tools like Visual Studio Code and GitHub, so they can fit in with your software development lifecycle. Declarative agents are starting to roll out now. I'll put a link to the documentation in the show notes.
And we're pleased to inform you about this new virtual workshop called Copilot Developer Camp, with hands-on labs where you would be building these declarative agents, including the one that Bob showed you earlier, the Trey Research example with custom APIs. Please check it out at aka.ms/copilotdevcamp. And don't miss out our next video where you will learn how to develop an API plugin and add it to an agent, where you will be using your custom API services. Thanks for watching.